the breath can be a problem. I see it in yoga all the time, and people are like, oh shit, like damn, wow, out of my lightheaded because you haven't had any, you've been breathing shallow as beep.
Yeah.
So yeah,
a little side note. Yeah, a little side note too is like diseases, they can't live in an oxygen-enriched environment. So you know, if you even if you don't go to the gym and you have these chronic illnesses, you have chronic diseases, check your breath. Like your pH is probably, you know, your acidity levels are probably through the roof. But the problem is people like, oh, you know, they don't know or they don't care, so they go to the doctor and they get a prescription. A little fun fact, like take a guess how many chronic illnesses has been cured through pharmaceuticals in the last 60 to 70 years? 0.
Mercy. Mercy. All nights and Brooklyn crew. Follow me now. It's a high dive and you rolling hip hop. Yo, bless up to Most Def, Talib Kweli, Black Star Movement. Yeah. B, how you feel, bruv?
Feeling good, my man. I'm ready. Let's do this.
You hit the gym today?
I'm on my second cup. Organic. It's organic. Don't panic.
It's organic. Don't. Bro, t-shirts coming soon. It's organic. Don't panic. Bless up. You heard it here first. B, yo, you hit the gym today?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm going after this. After this, I'm gonna have breakfast and off to the gym. It's a cardio. It's a stretch day. It's like my day off, but I gotta move every day. I gotta do something.
It's like an active recovery day.
That's it. Sundays are good days.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, man. Hey, let me ask you, man, especially we did an episode about 8 things people do wrong at the gym. And that was pretty well received, man. That was pretty well received for sure. And I'm curious, I think there's, I talked about doing a second version. So there's some additional things that people do before joining a gym, that people fail to do before joining a gym. So this is like the prequel to what we got on the 8 things. So listen, if you're watching this, you're in a good space. The first time you join us, welcome. This is the Morning Black and White Health Podcast. I'm Paul. This is Brian. We are consultants, health consultants, here to provide you with the information to help you get knowledge, to help you find the path to your optimal health and well-being, free of organizations or maybe not free of doctors, but really taking control, being the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. Bless up to Invictus. Listen, so today is the prequel. So we're going to talk about things that people fail to do before joining a gym. And after this one, go check out the 8 things people do wrong when they are in the gym. It's going to be a good, nice tandem for you. So B, talk to me, man. Like, because dude, you've been a trainer for a minute, man. Like, I've been training too. You're doing like you've been working at Lifetime, and so I think I see Lifetime as a very like as one of the standards for optimal health and well-being for overall, right? And especially like working there for a while, like I know that they hire the best of the best there. So with your experience, what are like let's dive into some things that people do wrong before they get to the gym. What would you say is like the first one?
Yeah, I think people go into the gym with unrealistic expectations sometimes. And I feel like unless you get a trainer in the beginning, you're going down a dangerous path. And I'm not saying this on a part of a financial thing where like I want you to pay me, or I'm trying to scare you to pay me, kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where like the human body is so complex that if like I've been doing you said Brian, you've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this since I was 19. I'm 45 now, going on 26 years. I've been doing this, and I'm constantly learning. constantly learning. I'm always, and that's why I love this field. I'm part-time now at Lifetime. I do it basically just to kind of get me out of the house because I have more, you know, other businesses going on. But I just love being around that atmosphere. I love teaching the podcast because it forces me to educate myself. And, you know, so I see a lot of things. And I think people go into the gym and they think they know what they're doing, but they cause more harm to themselves than actually good, unless you're with somebody that can kind of give you a little bit of guidance, you know. And so for me, one of the things I see is most people that come to the gym have almost no understanding or education on the foundational principles. The foundational principles are nutrition, hydration, sleep, breathing, thinking, and movement. So if you go to the gym, you're going to add stress onto your body that's probably already stressed out if you're overweight or have a lot of things going on in your life. And you will see short-term changes in your body, but what will follow very quickly is like a string of injuries. So I've seen it time and time again. They go into the gym, then they're there for a couple months, and all of a sudden something hurts, and then they're in rehab. They get out of rehab, they go to the gym, they're back in rehab. So it's just like this vicious cycle that these people are going through. And eventually they're just like, you know, every time I go to the gym, I get injured. So I'm just not going to go to the gym, or they just do things like, you know, I'll just stretch every once in a while, or I'll walk around the neighborhood, and that'll be my workout. So, and that's not going to get you to where you need to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can go ahead, bud.
I just want to check in on something, because what I'm hearing you say is going in intentional. So it's wild, because I'm thinking about just some people I've worked with in the past or started working with, and challenging them on, like, well, what do you really want to get out of this? Like, what's your reason for being here? Like, well, this one was 15 pounds. What's the well, why? Like, and then going into the environment that they're in. That's what I'm also hearing here, is like really getting honest with the environment. So how are you, what are you eating, right? How are you sleeping? How much water are you drinking? Do you have a stressful job? Like, do you know, like these are things. What I'm hearing people get to do before they join the gym is get intentional and survey the scene. Like, really know, like, okay, what as I'm joining the gym, where am I right now? This is going to help you with anyone. This is going to help you get the support that you need to get to your end game. Otherwise, you're going to be floundering, and like Brian said, you're going to do some stupid shit, and then you're going to be injured. And you're like, I can't get to the gym, and I gained another 20 pounds. Well, didn't come in thorough with it. Am I hearing that right?
It's not even about like doing like you know, I've seen people do stupid shit all the time. Like, it's always something. I'm like, I thought I've seen everything. That was an interesting way to do that exercise, but like, you know, we'll get into the next one. Most people come in with like predisposed injuries and don't even know, or their bodies are so stressed out. It's like they can't take any more stress on the body, and then your body will start breaking down to kind of protect itself, you know? So like, you know, we can kind of go down a little bit, like, you know, like nutrition, like people don't eat, like, if you're new to this episode, I would definitely highly recommend going to episode 2 and learn about metabolic typing. Basically eating according to your body's DNA. If you're putting the wrong fuel in your body, you're gonna clunk out eventually. You know, watching that episode will make total sense. I don't want to waste all the time here going over that, but you need a certain type of gas to work for your type of body. So another one is hydration. People don't hydrate properly. We have a water episode. I forgot what episode it is, but we'll put it in there at the end as a link to it. We'll link in there. But most people are dehydrated.
You did do one on hydration. Oh,
yeah, shit. Well, yeah. So I mean, you can drink, but people don't understand. Like, you can drink like 4 liters of water a day and still be hydrated. Most of our water is dead water. It's nothing in it. most of our food is so processed, and people don't eat clean enough where you can actually take those electrolytes and take the water and shuttle it into the cell. So you're going in there with a very dehydrated body. And that's almost like, then you go in there and you try to stretch, you're trying to do movements, you're trying to do like, you know, CrossFit or, certain kind of exercises. And it's basically like, your muscles, your fascia, especially your fascia, it should be very pliable. It should be moving very, very fluidly. Most people that are so dehydrated, it's like trying to stretch beef jerky. Like it's
damn,
not
bro.
You're gonna start hearing things. You're gonna start having muscle strains
right now.
Yeah, so there's a lot of tips on how to take dead water and make it into better or more like livelier water. Check out our episode. We did a lot of research on that. We quoted a lot of people in the leading industry of like water hydration and everything like that. Breathing is
oh my god. Oh man, yeah. So the water piece, man, I'm just thinking about that episode because it was so potent when we were talking about like how you talk about activating the water. And also I remember like you just talked about like that part when you said people like complain about, oh, I'm gonna pee too much. And if you're peeing too much, that means basically your organs have yet to receive the hydration. It's like they're failing to trust the person. So once the organs open up and start to receive the water and the hydration, then all of a sudden I'm not pissing as much because the body's actually using it. I remember.
Yes. So basically it takes about almost like 6 weeks for you to become hydrated. So if you can't drink a gallon of water right now and be like, oh, my body's hydrated. It takes about 6 weeks to become hydrated, 4 to 6 weeks. And the reason is for that is because the water is not going to your muscles or fascia right away. It's going to your organs because your organs are overtaxed. You probably have a lot of toxicity issues. So every time you're drinking the water, it's going through your kidneys, your liver, all the other organs, and it's flushing it out quick, trying to get rid of it, trying to eliminate all the toxins. That's why people pee so much. People are like, oh, I don't want to drink a lot of water because I pee so much. That's because your body is dehydrated. So after about 4 to 6 weeks of drinking optimal water, clean water, and doing the things that we talked about in the past episodes, doing those things, then you'll notice that the peeing will subside a little bit. And now the water's starting to go into your fascia, into your muscles. So that's where it's at. As far as like hydration goes, you can't just live like a camel for 20 years and drink a gallon of water and be like, oh, I'm hydrated.
So dude, thank you for this and the reason why I'm pausing here to talk to this because these are the things that we're doing prior, right? So especially being intentional, please people take note of this. Like it may take 5 to 6 weeks for your body to be hydrated. So if you're doing that, the reason I'm pausing this is bring this into your plan. So knowing this, like that, hey, okay, 5 to 6 weeks. What's the recommendation? Like, do they need to? Well, actually, there's no recommendation. It's just knowing that's going to have changes and impacts on your body over the next 5 to 6 weeks, along with whatever else you're planning to do with yourself. So
and you'll feel better. Water is life force. Water is life force. And a little tip for everyone out there: most of the water that we drink is dead water. This is going to sound really strange to you if you don't have a background in hydration, life force, and stuff like this. But when you take water out of a tap, first of all, I don't recommend it. Or you take water, say, out of a bottle. It's been sitting on its shelf for so long. That's not water's natural habitat. And water's natural habitat is to go down the stream fluently and everything like that. That creates life force within the water. Once you put that water in a bottle and have it sit on a shelf for a month or whatever, however long it is, it loses that vitality. So when you're drinking it, you don't get that vitality, you don't get that energy, you don't get that good quality vibration that's in it. Best thing to do is put it in like a mug or whatever like that and stir it with something flat, not a spoon. That's another topic, but stir it with something flat like chopsticks or maybe like a butter knife for about 30 seconds. And that brings out the vitality. A lot of research has been proven that it does. It's not airy-fairy. And then you drink it. That's the best way to kind of do it. Otherwise, you're putting dead water in your body. And then you can put like a pinch of sea salt in there, which will replenish your electrolytes. makes your bone stronger. It makes you retain water on the inside of your cells and not on the outside, so you don't get like that bloated feeling like regular table salt. So there's a big difference between sea salt and, you know, sodium chloride. So those are little tips you can kind of do with water.
Thank you for that, man. My mind's wandering, and I'm like, let's go into another life force, air. You're about to get into breath work, because that's like, I'm curious, like, especially considering what people would do before they go to the gym. How does breath work?
So think about it this way. Like most people, like 99% of people that come to the gym, they want basically 3 goals, right? They want to lose weight, they want to tone up, and they want to have more energy. Okay. Most people, because of the stress that goes on in their life, they become what they call chest breathers. So every time they're breathing, their shoulder girdle comes up. You know, they're not breathing diaphragmatically, meaning like if you put your hand on your chest and you put your hand on your stomach, every time you take a breath, your hand on your stomach should move first. So you don't, people, you might even know it as belly breaths. Like people are like, oh, put air in your belly. First of all, I mean, it's a good way to kind of cue it, but reality is
not what happens.
You don't put air in your stomach. Basically, when you take a diaphragmatic breath, your diaphragm pushes your organs down, which protrudes your stomach. So you don't really put air in your belly, you know, just for that. And
I love that. I get a kick out of that.
Yeah. So when you breathe, when you're a chest breather, you only get 1/3 of the oxygen in your body. So if your goal is to come into the gym and lose weight and you're breathing 1/3 of the oxygen in your body on a physiological level, what that does is your body literally thinks it's hyperventilating. When your body thinks it's hyperventilating, it lowers the pH on the level, which increases acidity. When your body becomes too acidic, you can't build muscle. You can't burn fat efficiently. Again, all this stuff can happen short term, but in the long term, you put stress on an acidic body, you're going to break it down. So breathing, and this kind of goes in hand with number 2, which we'll talk about a little bit in a bit, or number 2 reason people should, what they should be doing before they come to the gym is a lot of people come to me more for rehab now. And so what happens is when they come for rehab, first, I always do muscle testing. I do a whole thing on muscle testing. First thing I always muscle test is a core muscle called your transverse abdominis, your body. It's a TVA. It's almost like it wraps around from the lower part of the umbilicus to the pubic bone. It wraps around your back, and that's what they call your body's internal weight belt. If this muscle isn't firing, your whole body is just like, it's everything emanates from the core area. Your whole body is like a deck of cards in the wind. It's gonna eventually start having issues. So when I have people laying down, I tell them to take a breath. Not only in here, I'm trying to like see if their TVA is working, but I'm also seeing how they breathe without me telling them, hey, breathe through your belly. So first thing, most people, 99.9% of people, they breathe through their chest. Right away, you have something called your inner unit muscle. So if you look at it like almost like a cube, or like a three-dimensional tube, on the top you have 4 muscles. On the top you have your diaphragm. On the bottom you have your pelvic floor. In the front you have your TVA, which is your core muscle, which I'm originally testing for. And on the back, you have what they call your multifidus muscles. They're little segmental muscles that connect into the spinous spinous processes of the vertebrae. So when you breathe through your chest, right away, I know you're not working your diaphragm correctly. And the tip is they all work on the same neurological loop. So if your breathing is off, I know your pelvic floor is going to have issues. I know your TVA is going to have issues. I know you're going to have spinal instability in your low back. So all 4 of those things, they work on the same neurological loop. So most people that come into the gym and their TVA does not work. Their glutes don't work. So what are they doing? They're doing some kind of like, some kind of crazy class out there, or they're trying to work out on their own. And they're doing like deadlifts, they're doing squats, and they're basically doing this without any of their stabilizer muscles working. So you have your stabilizer muscles, or basically like 97% of your muscles, all the muscles that you can see. All the muscles that you can't see in the mirror, and the 3% of your outer muscles that you can see in the mirror. So think of it as like an analogy, like your body's almost like a bridge. So think of like the Golden Gate Bridge. That's basically 3% of what you see. Then you have the guide wires. Those are all your stabilizer muscles. So if you had that, most people have the great framework of the bridge, but the guide wires that don't exist. So anytime you have any kind of like issue or like a strong wind comes, the bridge is basically swaying like this. There's no stability there whatsoever. And you're trying to create stability in a body that's unable to create stability. So coming to the gym, like working with somebody that understands muscle testing and how the body works is going to prevent you from having a lot of injuries, So understanding that on a physiological level. And I know it's a little overwhelming, but you know.
No, it's not. So I want to break it down, because what I'm hearing you saying is the breath it's an important component to the journey they're about to take in the gym.
Yeah.
I hear you when you're talking about just the connections between the lines and the muscle activations. That staying on that part for a second. Being able to breathe properly is going to help you stabilize your core, stabilize your body in a lot of different exercises that you get to do that will promote muscle growth, but enhance your metabolism. So things like deadlifts or like planks or these types of things are going to require your core and your whole body, your spine, to stabilize and strengthen. And if your breath is jacked up, like Brian's saying, those things aren't turning on, which can lead to injury, people. So your breath is extremely important. I'm also hearing this from the breathing component is also very important on this journey that people about to take in health and fitness, or the gym, or what have you, however you want to label it. Because now as Brian mentioned, when most of us are stress breathers. So if you're only taking in a third of the oxygen, you're only using a third of your capacity, you're failing to get oxygen, you're failing to oxygenate your blood and also your muscles, which is going to prevent you from really truly growing and getting the benefit of the exercises that you're doing. So your breath is important. I get what you're saying, like it's key for people to acknowledge this and tap into this before working out, because the breath can be a problem. I see it in yoga all the time, and people are like, oh shit, like damn, wow, out of my lightheaded, because you haven't had any, you've been breathing shallow as beep.
Yeah.
So yeah,
a little side note. Yeah, a little side note too is like diseases, they can't live in an oxygen-enriched environment. So you know, if you even if you don't go to the gym and you have these chronic illnesses, you have chronic diseases, check your breath. Like your pH is probably, your acidity levels are probably through the roof. But the problem is people like, oh, they don't know, or they don't care, so they go to the doctor and they get a prescription. A little fun fact, like take a guess how many chronic illnesses has been cured through pharmaceuticals in the last 60 to 70 years? 0. You can't fix it through a drug.
Yeah. No.
Through a drug. So breathing is the most important. Breathing is by far the most important thing you can do correctly.
Your breath, man. Pranayama, man.
That's it.
Pranayama. Get your breath right, son. Listen, we're gonna get into. I was gonna get into another breath thing, but I'm gonna we're going to the next thing. What's the next component? I know you had a couple of them up in this piece.
Yeah.
Hydration. Nutrition, hydration, breathing. You also had sleep, thinking, and moving. How does that?
Yeah, well, sleep, it's all about your circadian rhythm, right? So your body, for those who don't know what a circadian rhythm is, your body gets internal hardwired with an internal clock after about maybe 3 weeks of being born. So basically, not to get too much into it, but between the hours of 10 p.m. through 2 a.m., your body goes through a physical repair. Between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., your body goes through a psychological repair. So if you're going to the gym and you're stressed out and you plan on putting more stress on the body, and you're going to sleep 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're never going to repair. That's the 4-hour window that you have to repair. The best thing you can do is probably get to bed by like 9 o'clock with lights off, 9:30 lights off, and then work from there. If you can't do that, honestly, man, I would say you should not be working out. You should not be working out in a stressful situation. You should not be doing what they call sympathetic exercises. You can work out in parasympathetic exercises. The difference between that is sympathetic, you use energy. Parasympathetic, you gain energy. So something like yoga, tai chi, qigong, stretching, just kind of breathing, meditation. Those are the stuff you should be doing until you get your sleep in order, because your body's never going to repair itself. It's never going to repair itself. And that might not be the answer you want to think or you want, because most people, especially in the Western cultures, it's more is better. Go, go, go. I want to burn fat. I'm so stressed out. But I'm gonna do, like, Bulgarian weightlifting where we're doing basically 10 sets of 10 squats, on a stressed out body, where actually they'll see a better overall change in your body by doing yoga for 45 minutes.
Come see me.
Come see
see me, damn it. I got you. Yeah. Right. Bro, I'm so happy. So it's, what's really cool is I think that more people are heeding that message about sleep and recovery.
Yeah.
I noticed this because, like, my yoga class, I teach an intro to yoga. Like, so it's like the basics. We're working on the breathe. We focus on breath, alignment, blah, blah, blah. And I noticed that there's been an uptick since, I don't know, I would say since probably February. And usually there's an uptick like at the beginning of the year, like, oh, look at all you guys with the resolutions. Come on in here for the next 2 weeks. But then what I see is that they're like continuing, like the class is continually full. I mean, like, it could be because of my skill level. That's a part of it. And I also think that people are willing to experience something different. Because, like, some of the feedback I get after class, people are like, it's the first time I've done yoga. I feel great. Great. Cool. This is what we're talking about. These things to help you restore to like turn your defenses and your striving off. Like, and you're right with the Western culture, man. It's like, and I think that also plays into, like, I'm going in here, I want to lose 20 pounds in 3 days. That's your go, go, go. You even having that mindset is putting stress on you. You're gonna lose sleep over that stuff. Come on, man. Let's stop that.
Definitely.
Let's stop it, man. Come on. Speaking of this, right, especially reducing the stress, you also mentioned thinking. Prior to joining the gym, like, how is thinking important? Like, what is that? Like, how? Like, tell me about that, bro. What do you mean by that?
This is an episode in itself, but, like, to keep it really simple,
I know.
Your thinking will change your hormones. Your hormones will change your organs. Your organs will change your muscle. The outer part of your body, everything that we can see in a mirror. So if you're having stressed out, negative thoughts all the time, chances are your cortisol is going to be through the roof. One of the side effects of cortisol is that you retain more belly fat because your body thinks it's dying. It's in a fight or flight. So you're not utilizing your energy properly. If you're, again, thinking, it creates your reality. Every time you have a thought, that's actually a thing, and it messes everything up. So, we're opening a box here that can be literally a 3-hour episode on that. But we did past episodes on that. If you want to go back and take that in there. Yeah. But what about your thoughts on that? I know this is up your alley.
Yeah, what? My mind was like, click, 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 click. Thinking about taking this perspective on thoughts, I think it's important for people to acknowledge what are their thoughts and stories around their past experiences at the gym. I find that part of, like, looking back on it, I think going forward or something like I constantly weave in when I'm working with private clients is, like, where have you succeeded? Where have you failed? And are you willing to let that go? Because this is a completely new experience. Like, I want to go into the disc bulges next, which I think plays into this. But, like, the thing is your thoughts can also dictate your outcomes. So if you're in your head, you start going in and, like, oh man, like, I'm going to lose this. But then you hit a roadblock that you have hit before. A lot of people can go off the rail, bro, and not come back. So it's about really letting go of those thoughts of what you've done in the past, what's worked, what has yet to work, because now you're creating a new space. You're creating a new experience where you can get the results that you want and in a lasting way. Because let's face it. If somebody's coming back to the gym or somebody's coming to the gym, chances are it's very rare that they've been in this the whole time. Usually it's like they had success. I took a pause, and I'm speaking from experience. I took a pause. Now I'm coming back, right? So this is a completely different experience. This isn't what I did before. So I love that you have that on there, man. I'm like, yo, this is so important. And also, like, check out another episode we did about visualization. Like, visualize. Like, I'm a big thinking cat. Like, what is it gonna be like when you have this, when you lose or you get this strong? What's your experience gonna be like? What are people telling you? Oh my God, you got nice arms and shoulders. What are people like? What are you eating? What does it smell like? What's the environment? What are activities? What does a weight feel like in your hands? All these things, like, start to visualize that, and that's gonna make a major difference. B, I was looking at the notes, man. Please, can we talk about the disc bulges, bruv? Because I think there's people, a lot of people going through this. They don't realize what's going on in the body, bro. Can we talk to them, please, brother?
Yeah, if you while I'm talking about it, you want to bring up a picture of what a disc bulge looks like?
Sure can.
Some people might not know what it is. So most people are unaware that they have disc bulges. All right. They've done research on large groups of people that have never had an issue of back pain in their life. And what they found is through these MRI imaging is that 72% of people have a disc bulge. Then what happens is you see people come to the gym without any kind of guidance, and they're like, oh, I feel good. You know what? I'm going to squat today, even though they have no idea how to do a proper squat. Most people don't have no idea how to do a proper squat. Or they're going to do some lunge patterns, or they're going to do this, they're going to do this, and they just overload their back, and it pushes those vertebrae down on the disc a little more. All of a sudden, some pops out from the side. So I see, I mean, these people, most people that walk into a gym, I mean, I can tell by looking at them that they're a ticking time bomb waiting to blow up, you know. And I don't mean that like in a, I'm not poking fun, but chances are, like, if you're coming to the gym and you have a belly that's hanging over your over your knees, and your posture is rounded, or, I mean, I can just tell by, you know, your breath is out of whack, and I can tell that you're stiff as a board, and you start doing all these exercises, you're eventually going to have an injury unless you work with somebody that can help you, do some testing on you, do assessments on you. I mean, the more assessments you know, the better you are. And I'll give you a little tip too. It's like, if you ever decide to work with a trainer and they don't do any assessments, or they do basic assessments on you, don't work with them. The more, because otherwise they're guessing. If you're not assessing, you're guessing. The more assessments that you know as a trainer, the better off you're going to go down the path. Yeah, so there we go. There's a disc bulge right there. And if you see the red, that's the disc in there. And what happens is that when you push on that vertebrae a little more, it's going to protrude that disc a little more. And those yellow things are little nerve roots going down there, and it hits that nerve root. That's why a lot of people, they have, they feel like pain going down. Yes, I mean, sciatica. Yeah, sciatica has, I mean, it has a lot to do with what they call a piriformis muscle. Usually most people have sciatica, their glutes don't fire, and their core doesn't fire. That's pretty much everyone. Even if you don't have sciatica, most people's glutes don't fire, or the core doesn't fire. So that little red spot right there is pushing back a little bit more, and it's hitting that disc. So, you know, it's funny, you go to a doctor, and they'll look at that disc, and they'll be like, okay, let's take that disc out, and we'll fuse these two together, or they'll try to get rid of the nerve and everything like that, which creates a lot of issues later on. That's another hour conversation. But they don't look at anything else. They don't look at nutrition. All right, so like, if you want to kind of do a retro analysis of this, it'd be like, we're going kind of working backwards. I'd be like, the first thing I would be like, okay, why is that back there? Okay, we need to kind of fix your posture. But before we fix your posture, we got to make sure your core that's connected, the fascia of the core is connected into this. So let's figure out that the core is working. All right, the core is not working. Why is it not working? Oh, your nutrition's off. You're putting synthetic foods in your body, which is shutting down your core, which is causing that disc bulge to protrude posteriorly, hitting that nerve root that's going down your leg. So we need to fix the nutrition. We need to fix your breathing. We need to fix your, you know, your sleep patterns. That's the etiology of your problems right there. It's not because of bulge. That's just the last camel to break the last straw to break the camel's back, is that exercise causing that to happen. Everybody should be able to squat, lunge. These are basic movements for survival back in the day. If you weren't able to squat or lunge, you're not killing any animals out in the hunters and gatherers days, you're not dragging that animal back. You're not, you're wounded. You're not gonna live too long back then. So those are basically what they call like primal pattern movements.
That's man, this right here, that
it's a lot. A little thing about hydration too is when your body becomes dehydrated, the first place it takes water from is your disc. Your disc is about 93% water. So a lot of people that over time, then what happens is that disc gets shorter and shorter and shorter. It's hard to get water into the disc. So I teach a course called LDOA, basically, I've taken courses on LDOA and I teach them now, which puts space in between the vertebrae, so the disc can actually have room to breathe and you can flush more water in there. Yeah. And what's one of the reasons people shrink as they get older, because their spine, the water in their spine or the water in their discs are shrinking. So, that's usually a classic sign of dehydration, which most people.
Yeah, man. Well, so that dehydration is basically, so there's a lack of. So now I'm like thinking like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? If there's movement in the spine, though, the spine is going to require or it's going to want water. So okay, I see what you mean. So if it's dehydrated, then all of a sudden it's going to start shrinking, compressing, like rounding.
Yeah. It takes water from the disc. It takes water from the disc.
Since we're on the discs and like in the spine, I know there's a lot of people with herniated discs as well.
Yeah.
So how does that play into the bulging and also I think that could be something that's important for people to know or be aware of before they start going into the gym, so they could share it with their pro, right? Or no?
Yeah, I mean, most people, like I said, most people don't know that they have it, or they do have it, and they'll come to the gym and they'll be like, I mean, again, not this, put myself on a pedestal, but I'm skilled enough where I've dealt with this a long time. I've taken spinal pathology courses that most people come to the gym, they're like, oh, I have low back pain. I'm like, where is it? And they're like, well, what vertebrae? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out. And I'll go in here. I'm like, oh, here it is. So I have an idea like where it is without using and like getting an MRI. But if you don't know, you're going to, and you go to somebody that doesn't understand how the discs work, you're going to have issues. And I can tell which side is kind of protruding from sides. So if it's protruding from the left side, there's an exercise out there called for example, it's called a 3-part Hannah. Basically you're almost like you're bringing your elbow into your hip kind of thing. And it's on a lateral side, it's pushing the disc back in, and they'll feel instant relief doing that. So I have them doing like an LDO, which opens up the disc. Then I'll do a 3-part Hannah and just say the disc is kind of coming from this way. I'll have it push it back in by doing certain exercises. Things called like McKenzie presses. Like you see this in a downward dog where you're kind of like up, that's like a McKenzie press you can do to one side to kind of centralize the disc. So there's certain things you can do. And I know like, man, so many assessments for the spine, which I can figure it out pretty quickly doing that way. So that's something.
Yeah, dude, my apologies for cutting off. I think it's really interesting. What I'm hearing in all this, right, is it's like having a proper assessment. Yeah. Like really in all this, it's really about getting the layout of the land, having a proper assessment to look at, like, okay, how are you breathing? What are you taking in? What's your stress level? What's your sleep? And then craft something that's going to get you to your goal. I think this is, I'm taking this and I want to bring this because I know you had something. I'm trying to remember what you had on when you're in your notes. Well, I guess this is in alignment with stuff that we see on social media, right? I saw you had that in your notes. Like people will follow a certain pro that's like, oh man, he does some progressive stuff, and people will talk about like, oh, if you want shoulder mobility or hip mobility, do this. And they have yet to really, these pros or these influencers on social media, they have yet to work with your body or know your situation. So for someone to automatically go in and say, well, I see this person doing this, I'm going to give this a go. that's where a lot of injuries can happen. And then they're not going to the gym at all because they're
most of
stressed
these,
about like some things. Huh?
Let me tell you something. Like this industry is so brutally weak. Like if you just educate yourself a little bit each day, like you'll within a year you can surpass 99% of people in this industry.
Yeah.
It's like, it's ridiculous. Like, and I hate to put down the industry because I've been in this for so long, but it's like every other industry. You got your good and your bad trainers. Yeah. And nowadays, like you can literally get a book, read 300 pages. Most of it's like, I would say 90% of it is just like bullshit that you would never use for your clients anyway. And you can take a certification, you can take a course in a weekend and go to the gym. And now you have the opportunity to work with the human body. Like it is such a complex, it makes like a spaceship look like a child's toy. That's how complex it is. And I mentioned before, like I've studied so much. I've taken courses all around the world for like 15 years, at least out of my life, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars working with the best people. I'm constantly learning, constantly like educating myself and like, I didn't know that. Oh, this would have definitely helped me if I learned this 20 years ago. And it's like, and now you're working with like, you know, and I hate to put, I don't even want to say like a 20-year-old person that's like, with one certification that has never trained a client, and you get some guy that comes in with a disc bulge in their back. It's, I'm not saying, listen, I probably the wrong wording for that. I mean, I know a lot of, 20-year-old great trainers that, that educate themselves all the time, but majority of trainers that I've worked with in the past, I'm not including Lifetime, because a Lifetime, you're right, they do hire amazing trainers, but I've worked at like, I've worked at like LA Fitnesses where a trainer makes $6.50 before taxes per half hour, or $13 on the hour. After getting that money back, after taxes are taken out, like how much of that money do you think they're using to educate themselves? They're not. They're trying to survive. They're trying to get food. At least like someplace like Lifetime, they pay their trainers on a decent level so they can afford to get on a plane and take courses, or they do a lot of continuing education, everything like that. So big up to them. But for the majority of people, like these influencers on there, you'll see like, a 20-year-old guy or a girl with like an amazing body with, abs showing, butt hanging out, boobs hanging out. Automatically like, oh, I want to look like that. They must know what they're doing. And I've actually met a lot of these people. Their diet is absolute shit. Like they're just all about macros. They're just like, and you're like probably like, oh, how is their diet shit? And they look like that, dude. A lot of it's genetics. They work out a lot. They're stressing their bodies out, but they ain't gonna look like that in 10 years.
Yo, look at Ronnie Coleman, man. Ronnie Coleman is one of the greatest, bro. Dude could barely walk.
And there's and health and fitness is not synonymous. It's not the same. I work with people with six packs all the time that can barely walk. They barely, look in the mirror and brush their teeth without going into back spasms. It's like, that's not healthy, but they look the part,
Yeah, and it's an easy sell. It's like, we did an episode with the FDA and like, how they sell stuff. And I think that's part of selling services. And I mean, when you talk about the 20-year-old, I'm hearing more of the, like it's an immature mentality.
Inexperience. I want to say,
exactly.
It's inexperience. Yeah.
And that's a great way. Thank you for the reframe, because listen, I'm speaking from experience too. Like when I first got into personal training, like I started training people like how I train myself, because that's most of how they came to me. They're like, I want to look like you. And I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. So come on, man. So it's like, I hadn't, until there was a point where I was like, oh shit, I'm hurting people. And that was when I really started to get into different types of education based on what I liked, or like what I saw a need. Like, so especially around like joint mobility, because I was having hip issues. So it's like a lot of yoga or like breath work and things like this. That was where more of my niche was. And that was where I started to take the knowledge and it became wisdom. So there's this piece, it's right, it's an experience. And that's the thing with a lot of these social media influencers, man. Like, they're putting out stuff, and a lot of times they may think they're doing well, and maybe for a small percentage it does, but that small percentage is aligned to that person's body type or genetic. The majority of the time, it's going to be supportive for you to work with someone that has experience. What does that look like, Paul? I don't know. Well, what do you need experience with? Somebody's got experience working with people post recovery from surgery. Someone's got experience working with spinal issues. Bro, this is what we're talking about as far as before you get into the gym, know your shit. What do you want to get done? What's your intention? Because then you'll be able to find the pros and get the tips and tools, especially the assessments, to make sure that you go forward free of injury and you get to your goal, you get to your end game, man. It's very important. Very important.
Amen. Bro. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Can I get a witness? But listen, this and I wanna start to wrap this up, and I think well, this is interesting because we kind of went off what we said we were gonna do, and I love what we did too, because even that first part, like, we got to break it down.
Yeah.
Molecules, son.
Hey, it won't be the last time we go off script.
Exactly. Exactly, bro. So listen, I think so if you're watching this episode, I'm gonna put an offer out here. You can be mad at me later. If you're watching this episode and you're like, damn, man, I wish I could find a professional that could help me out with an assessment, reach out to us, put us in the comments. You can check in with More Than Black or White Health. Wait. You know, I should know this. It's More Than Black or White. More Than Black or White at gmail.com. Okay? More Than Black or White than gmail.com. What am I going to do with that email, Paul? I'm glad you asked. Reach out to us. Be like, hey, I'm interested in having an assessment. We can work something out. Brian's got a lot of wisdom. I got wisdom. Maybe we put a tandem together where it's like the physical, and then like I'm looking at your breath and what's going on with this. We can work with you to get you on track, and then wherever you are in the U.S. or in the world, then you have the tools to find the trainer, or find the guide, consultant, professional, whoever is going to suit based on the assessment that we can do for you and support you. Now you'll have the tips and tools to make sure that you go forward. You're in a good space, man. You're in a real good space. Yeah, man, I'm good with that. Anything else, B?
No, man. I think we pretty much wrapped. I mean, I guess like just like expectations. Like, so when, if you're going to the gym and you're trying to gain quality muscle, lean muscle, a healthier body, and you're putting shitty food in your body, don't expect to see results. Don't expect to see results. Kind of leave you with that. And I see a lot of people like that. I see a lot of people that I've worked at the gym, and I've been there, 15 years, and they look exactly, if not worse, than the 15 years I've known them. They don't make any kind of change whatsoever. I'm like, what are you doing?
No.
But and a lot of it comes down to nutrition. Yeah. So like, don't, as my mentor Paul Check once said, you can't make chicken soup out of chicken shit.
Dude, I thought you were gonna say the other one, like you can't outwork a bad diet. That what you used?
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a goodie too. So bless up, people, man. Listen, it was always a pleasure. Always a pleasure here. Like, share, subscribe. If you found benefit of this, listen, put in the comments, because we like reading these comments, and it helps us to create future episodes. I think we're behind on responding to a couple of comments, so we're gonna check in on that and like respond back, because we appreciate you all letting us know what came up for you, what's your feedback. In this episode, what's something that resonated with you, something you have yet to do before you start your fitness journey, and let us know. Let us know, like, if you were to do an assessment, what's something that would be helpful for you in an assessment. Maybe we missed something. So thank you as always for checking in. We appreciate you. Brian.
Peace.
My guy. All out. Peace.